Here he is. Hi, Wynton.
All right now.
How's it going?
What we talking about, Maddie?
Well, I was just jamming out to the latest JLCO concert where we released today on YouTube, which is
Uh-huh.
one of my favorite concerts to listen to because you can really just do a little seat dance, I like to call it, while you're working from home, get your
All
groove
right.
on a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Can you
Talk about it.
talk a little bit? Yeah, let's talk about this concert a little bit. I know, of course, the great Carlos music directed it as well. Can you talk a bit about working with Carlos and your relationship with Carlos and what it's like to see him from meeting him from essentially Ellington, and I believe it was '96. From now, he's the basis of the JLCO.
Well, I knew Carlos before essentially Ellington. He was 14 and 15, and Stephen Akendo is a trumpet player. That friends of his, and they were going to music and art, and Stephen said, "Man, you want to come up and meet my man." So he and Carlos came up. Then I was living around the corner from there, and I loved them. We used to talk about music, and I would rap with him, and still Steven's still beautiful, teach kids, still playing his horn and playing all kind of trumpet. And with Carlos, just like from the neighborhood, soulful. He's more like it's like a family. It's not even. It's hard for me to even describe. I've known him so long, and I love him so much in his family. Kiko, his oldest son, I'm his oldest son's godfather. So I of course I've been calling him, messing with him about keeping his schedule during the quarantine. But I learned a lot from Carlos too over the years, because when you have somebody that you're that close with, things that you do that maybe somebody else won't tell you, like if they're from another tradition, he'll just say it. And his musicianship, his seriousness, the way he practices, his arrangements, they speak for themselves. Like he's very serious about music. And he would sit up and study and analyze something and talk about it. We were arguing about claves and rhythms for years over this piece we did with Yakubade called Congo Square. And he's always serious. He's the one who always called me like over a tape or a set order. Papa, I don't know about this third tune. Or just last night we started to go back and forth about the type of rig people have when we're making these home recordings. And this thing is, man, either we're gonna be serious about this or we're not gonna be serious about it. And he's like that about everything: chord changes, rhythms, the way something sounds, a mix. So I rely on Carlos a lot, just because I know the type of integrity he brings to the music. And on a personal level, I love him. I can't really. I don't know what to.
No, it's a beautiful music and life friendship you have with Carlos and all the members of the JLCO. That's really
Yeah,
great to see, and you really see it when you guys are playing on stage together.
right.
Honestly, when you're collaborating on the Quarantine Blues or anything else that you've collaborated on so
Right.
far during the quarantine.
Yeah, well, Carlos is more life than music. Life is before the music, really. A lot of times, if I see younger musicians, I don't know they're gonna be musicians. It's not like I think you're gonna. I don't know whether you're gonna end up playing music. And I knew his mother, and his mother has passed away,
Mm.
and that was very traumatic when his mother passed. And it's hard to really. He would always be in rehearsals when he was a kid, and we all loved him. It's like you're in the rehearsal with older people and a younger kid, a teenager like him. He's always teasing people and messing with them. So yeah, it's my man.
Fantastic. And
And I'm very proud of him. Like, he was a music director when we went to Cuba,
mm,
and just the songs he selected, his philosophy. He's always saying, "Man, we don't need to go to people's culture doing bad versions of their music for them." Another funny thing about him is how honest he would be about stuff. He just would tell you. It's like being in New Orleans, because that's how New Orleans musicians always would be stuff. If you really don't want to hear something, that don't get around them.
I think it's a common theme that we've talked in a couple of these Wednesdays with Wynton, that they're, a lot of the closest relationships you've had with people or the jazz greats are going to be honest and tell you how it is. Because,
Yeah, they very
you
very
gotta
directly.
surround yourself with those kind of people.
Right. What's funny is how directly they deliver the information.
I
You know.
love it. And talking about directly delivering information, I wanted to bring up, and we'll take some questions after this, but on this past Monday on Skeins Domain, you had on the wonderful theoretical physicist, Sean Carroll.
Yeah.
And you talked about, there was this part that you were talking about probability and group action in music. And
Right.
sometimes, people, while you're playing live, you can, you're just hearing a snapshot of that time,
Right.
and you can
Right.
just zone into maybe something that's a mistake. And
Right.
then you'll hear the tapes back and you hear something totally different. Can you
Right.
expand more on this, talk about this a bit more?
What we were talking about, it's an experiment called Schrodinger's cat, which is a 50-50 chance of a cat in a box, and the cat is alive or dead.
Mm.
That you put some type of, I think when he originally did the experiment, it was I can't remember whether it was radiation or it was something that would 50% chance that the cat would be killed or the cat would be alive, but it's in a box, so you don't know. So because it's in a box and you don't know the state that it's in, then the cat is not in any state from an observatory standpoint until you open the box. Then once you open the box, you can then the cat could have died the instant you open the box. The particle, whatever it is that you are observing, the position of the particle is based on the observer. So the person who is the participant becomes a part of what's going on. So there's a liminal state in which the cat is not alive or dead. If you go to if you start to divide experiences, I'm gonna get you really close to it. If you put something in your mouth and you like the way it tastes, like you say, oh, this is a good piece of, it's a good cake. If you had to go directly to the exact second that you were ascertaining what it was, and you had to find there's a state in which is not good or anything. So when you go to that state, particles are in a certain position. So there's the thought that at a certain time, the reality is shaped by the observer. So that particle also has something else that it splits off into another particle that's in the opposite position. So the cat is alive and is dead. Sean Carroll believes that we have many universes. Like I've seen him speak on that, where there's a universe in which the cat is alive and there's a universe in which the cat is dead. So when you're playing, you go through, there's a transition, a throat of transition. Also, a guy named Bell did an experiment, Canadian, and that experiment was about whether it's a particle wave experiment, at a point at which a particle is also a wave, particle wave. So it's like a wave and it's a particle. So you go through a thing where you are about to perceive something. So if something is possible, then you get closer to it, then it's probable. Then you're in the moment of it, and that moment is gone. But when exactly is that moment? Because many things are happening in it. Then once it's gone, you can assess what it is, but it's gone. So and that's what playing is like. So what I was saying is that when you get into it's the thing of finding out what is the state the cat is in, because your interaction with that is what's going to determine the state that the cat is in. So when you're playing, you start to assess what it is that you're doing, and you can't really understand it because a lot of things are going on, and your attitude or your disposition affects what's going on. Then when you hear it back, until you hear, oh, they were doing that, or this one was doing that, you didn't understand the moment. It's hard to just accept moments as they come at you. So I mean, it's not really, it seems the math is complicated, okay? But the concept is not that complicated. Like, I mean, Sean is a physicist. So if that was to be on a blackboard, man, I would just look at it and go,
yeah.
But the math is, from a conceptual standpoint, it's not, it's the theoretical parts of it are not as complicated as we think they are. It's just we're dealing with such small, lower than molecular structures that it's like many things happen in the subatomic world. Like they work on things now in that world where they can create glass that bends. When you get into that world, there's a lot of manipulation, and it's just that's why they have a conductor trying to find what they call the God particle. Can you get down to the absolute tiniest kind of building block of everything in life, like the whatever that is. And it's good to speculate on. We don't know. But you know, another thing we talked about is something can be theoretically, you could be a genius theoretically. Math could be beautiful, everything, but it could doesn't mean it sounds good. Another thing Sean told me that was funny. He said, we're talking about some things about the universe, not the other night, but before. He said, but does all this knowledge help me deal with my sister? No. You know, life is still life.
That I think that's such a great thing, though, and especially I know a lot of musicians tune into this and just gain some meaning, and they're thinking, you know, they have a tough time whether they're soloing or they're playing, how to stay in that moment. So I think it's a, like you said, the maths may be complicated, but it's good, you know, it's a simple.
Right. Well, it goes down to the question of what is a moment. Now there's another, the other thing we were talking about was quantum entanglement, and that when particles split, the act of observation means the particle is in the position it's in when you observe it. And a twin particle shoots off the act of observation, and that twin particle, once it shoots off, or once if that particle, wherever the twin of that particle is, it takes another position. The superposition is the position in which anything is possible. Once you observe it, anything is not possible. What you have observed is what you see. The other thing is still possible, but it's another thing. It's in the opposite position of what you have observed. So that's what Einstein calls spooky things at a distance. Like, why can you have a particle at the other end of the universe that's in another position? Because I observed this, that means it has to be faster than light. So that we're talking about that with playing, because sometimes you're on a bandstand playing, and you will play things that the person you're playing with, no way they could have. It's complicated too. It's not like a little note or two. It's faster than the speed of thought. It's instinctual, and there's sometimes you get in that type of orbit with people where, now that's like, it's not the same as of course, entanglement and the complex, but it's just as complex. I don't want to give the impression that it's simpler because it's music.
Right.
The discussion around quantum entanglement has been going on for a much longer time by the strongest minds in the world. But if those minds would be trained on what this phenomenon, what playing is about, believe me, they will come up with something. You get any serious discussion of what actual playing does and what it is, I mean, we talk about, you know, the greatest scientists of the 20th century and into the 21st century, and all kind of students and everybody has been contemplating these concepts for a long time, and they're coming up with things. So if we ever get that type of concentration around playing, you'll see some stuff.
Well, if there's anyone watching or listening right now, so we're on the lookout for that. And we posted on Jazz Lincoln Center's Instagram that little clip of you guys talking about that exact thing. And there was a very interesting question that someone commented, and I wanted to read to you. It said, my soon-to-be 18-year-old son has earned a full tuition scholarship at Berklee College for September. He auditioned on saxophone. However, he recently indicated a fear of jazz and open mic night jams, even though he always opened his eyes and ears at places like the Jazz Standard, Dizzy's. And he's put down the horn and is now aiming to study music production engineering, which I fully support. However, I wish he wouldn't give up on his amazing horn playing. What advice could you possibly impart to him that will make him realize that, you know, it's possible to do both, to go for it all without feeling the pressures of measuring up to other horn players?
You know, without knowing him, it's hard to give that type of advice. The best thing I could do would be to put, many engineers are still musicians. So to be a musician, you're always a musician. Like, you don't, it's like if you can play a horn, you can always play it, and you can pick it up and play it when you want. Sometimes you get locked in a thing, especially with your parents, where when they tell you something, you have to do the opposite. Once you realize you don't have to do the opposite, and you don't have to do the same, you're free. Many times just the act of you recognizing your freedom makes you taking all of who you are. So I would put the son in contact with Todd Whitelock or one of our engineers and just let him talk. And Todd was a musician. He'll tell him. Todd's son is a musician. You know, so he'll tell him, if you're a musician, you are. And I think for the mother, if it's the mother, right, that
It's the father,
It's
actually.
a father.
Yeah.
I think what kids respond to sometimes is either if you're a musician, play with them, or just ask them to play a song for you. Don't
Mm.
make it philosophical. What was that song? Can you play this song for me? It don't have to be long. Just keep them playing with stuff like that. Like you do it with kids when you make them play after dinner and they don't really want to play, but they do kind of
Yeah.
like that. Just take it out of the philosophical realm.
That's great advice. And I know they thank you for that as well. I know they tuned in for that
Well,
answer.
I
So I'm
hope
gonna,
it works. You know, it's complicated.
of course,
Parents and kids, as always.
can only imagine what it is like to have a son or daughter. So
Yeah,
we have,
it's educational.
oh yeah, you learn, you teach from each other.
Oh, it's educational, and you never stop learning.
We have some other questions here. Is how do you apply the concept of improv to everyday life?
Well, improvisation means working with what you have. It means improving things with what you know. It means responding to a moment of possibility by bringing all the expertise you have to solving a problem on the fly. And you can use it in anything. You use it cooking. You look at what you have in your kitchen. Oh, I'll do this and this and that. I know this works with this. I know this works with that. And you put it together. We do it in improvise when we're speaking. All the time you come up with something very quick that has to make sense. You can do that. And you do it anytime you fix something in your home. Something might be broken and you get you some rubber band and a stick or something, you fix it. So we improvise all the time. And once again, it's a skill that's very natural. It's something that we all do.
Mm.
And it's only a matter of us observing it. And we all have that ability and have used it.
Yeah, and I think that people don't realize some of the times when they are improvising. I mean, you can be best prepared for anything, but sometimes do you find sometimes it's better to improvise if you're feeling it, even you're prepared for something, you go, wait a second, I'm going to try this out. Like obviously when you're on the bandstand and you're about to play a piece that you practiced with everyone for so long, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the best improvisation, you're not prepared for it.
Right.
It comes up on you.
Mm-hmm.
But we all do all these things in different degrees. Like sometimes we'll have bullet points. We're improvising, but we're talking. Sometimes we write everything out, and we speak it. But for the most heartfelt things, most of the times we don't really write it out. Sometimes if it's long and you're really going to be nervous, you'll write a thing out. They say Martin Luther King with the "I Have a Dream" speech. The best part of the speech he started making up. Mahalia Jackson could be heard in the background. She realized his speech wasn't going like he wanted it to go, and she started saying, "Tell him about your dream, Martin. Tell him about your dream." And then she was kind of, because she's a performer, so she understood. Then he went into his thing, and of course, there were ideas that he had worked out and things he had said before, but not in that combination. And improvisation many times is that way. It's not good to every time you play, you're going to invent something from whole cloth, or like every time But we live in different states of it, so I think it's all good. And you don't be scripted through everything, but once again, it all depends on who you are as a person.
Right.
Like we go back to the fact that the observation also affects the position a particle is in.
Mm.
It could be in any position, but once you observe it, it's in the position you observed it in.
That conversation was incredibly interesting that you had with Sean too, to think about, obviously, there's math and physics behind everything, but to think about it through music as well. I mean, I don't think that we stop and think about that often.
Well, those kind of concepts, because Sean kept saying, remember, these are analogies. So those kind of conversations are good as long as there's not a blackboard there. Right. Once you put that blackboard up and certain numbers and equations and signs start to come up, or with music also, if I start to discuss theoretical implications and stuff and I start pulling out music and notes, and if you don't know what those things are, Duke used to say that type of talk stinks up the place. But on a conceptual level, all things are related. Everything in the universe is related. The question is, can you see it? When we discovered the DNA strain, I think Sean also said that we all come down to a common ancestor. Okay, that's the science of it. Now, it doesn't mean the science is going to change what people believe or don't believe, but it means that's what the science is. And Jelly Roll Martin told us that 100 years ago, and he didn't know any of the science, but he knew it. He said, "This is what I saw in these houses of ill repute, people of all kinds, and I realized they're all the same." You know,
Gotta listen to that inner voice in your gut.
got to listen to Jelly Roll.
Yes.
So,
Mostly that, yes.
so you know, we all related. But
Yeah.
can we realize it? No, these things are hard to realize. You know, they're very fundamental concepts, but they're difficult to realize. Somebody say, oh, the earth belongs to all of us. Okay, but why is it that only some people have most of it?
Right.
It's because they don't understand it belongs to all of us. Because if they all understood it belonged to all of us, none of us would have to have it because we all have it.
Mm.
But since some of us have to have it, then we all have to understand it doesn't belong to all of us. But because it all belongs to us, we could have it. Now that's once again, go back to that particle. When you observe it, it becomes what you observe. But something else, another the twin of that particle is somewhere else in another position. That's the opposite of the position you observed it in. So
I wish I could put it as beautifully as that. That's
no, I mean I'm trying to just. I don't know if I'm expressing it as clearly as I understand it.
no, you are though. Believe me, because this
I'm
kind
trying.
of stuff with me, sometimes my brain is like, can't the numbers, the physics, but it all makes sense.
You know, as long as we don't have that blackboard up, we're okay,
Right?
man.
No.
If
I would
Sean
never
would
do
have pulled
that.
a blackboard out on us, whew.
I wouldn't do that for either one of us. So we have another question was, you always talk about the optimism of the blues. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, you have a form that so if I said if I said that's all right, you telling me something I don't want to hear, and I said that's all right, yeah, that's all right. I'm getting very tight. It's not really all right, but I have to say it's all right. You know, you divorcing me, or I lost everything I had, or whatever. Something I don't want to hear. Like I have a terminal cancer, something serious, not like I'm playing around. And when I hear it, I'm like, I say, that's all right. No, that's different from me going, that's all right, baby. Baby, that's all right. See, when I start doing that, I put that, doom, 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 doom. I'm actually feeling the pain of it deeper, but the it's inside of me, and it's like a dance. It's making me find that thing in me that is alive. And the fact that I'm leaning into them notes, and they're major and minor. I'm saying, that's all right, baby. Baby, that's all right. And then somebody's answering me. Baby, dee dee doo dee doo dee dee dee. That's all right, baby. Baby, that's all right. Woo, doo, doo. They start playing all of whatever they playing. Now all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, it don't make it any less. Whatever I don't want to, it's the same. It's even deeper maybe to feel. But now I used to say in the early analogies, the blues like a vaccine. So it's appropriate for the day. But in one of my first teachings of the blues in the 1980s, I would always say, you give people a little something of what they're going to get, so that when the thing they're going to get comes around, they can handle it. And the blues is like that, except in reverse. Like you have it, and then the blues, because it exacerbates it, it takes it away from you. And it allows you to play with a situation that's not to be played with. And a lot of times the blues lyrics say something really bad, and the last stanza is something. I always use the same lyrics, but there are many of them, of course. Even Son House lyrics sometimes. He said it was 10,000 people standing around the burying grounds. It's 10,000 people standing around the burying ground. I never knew I loved her till she was 6 feet in the ground. Now, that's not happy, but he's realizing how much he loved her. So on the one hand, it's ambiguous. It puts you in that position, that liminal position, before you see the condition that cat is in. Well, how does he feel about it? Now he knows he loves her, but she's 6 feet in the ground. And there's 10,000 people standing around the burying ground. Got to be something when you love somebody who don't love you. It don't make a difference no matter what you do. You know? And when you look at the lyrics, well, those are not the best example of it, but one I always use, I went down the street, put my heads on the railroad track. When the train came along, I snatched my fool head back. Like, yeah, I contemplated this, but this is what I did. So there are many examples of the disposition of the blues. It gives you optimism that's not naive,
Right.
because it's not telling you smile through this, or this is, it's not. It's saying, yeah, this is a drag, but
This is, yeah, and it's a lot of finding the beauty out of that,
let's
Hmm.
let's go through this.
I love that.
Let's go through this.
We have some other questions on that same note too. It says, a viewer from Oklahoma asks, can you speak on Ralph Ellison and his influence?
Oh, man. Well, Ralph, Ralph was a trumpet player. So I'll go to Ralph's house, and Fanny is his wife. So you couldn't think of him without her. The two of them were together. And she would always laugh. Like if you would mess with him or tease him or make fun of him in any way, and make her laugh, because a lot of times people would take him really seriously. So you could joke with him a lot. And he's unbelievably intelligent. And I don't mean he understood about people, about human beings, and he has it all. It's all in that book, Invisible Man. If you read it, I read the book like 4 times. It took me, the first time I read it, I was like, the second time I read it, third time, and just recently, two years ago, I read it, maybe a year ago. I read it for and I understood a lot more about what he was saying. And that book is a lot written about the everyday hustles that will get you in your attempt to be tribal and sectarian instead of being a human being. The people in your own tribe are getting you, and people outside of your tribe are getting you. So it's the whole kind of, where does every man turn when all of the systems that are put in place to keep that person in a state of exploitation. And Ralph knew a lot about the music. He's great. His essays, books of essays too, Shadow and Act.
Can you name that first book again? We had someone in the comments who just tuned
Invisible
in.
Man. Yeah, Invisible. I mean, it's his book that everybody reads.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a great book of essays too. Shadow and Act, Going to the Territories. A great essay he wrote called The Little Man at Cheehaw Station. That's a fantastic one. About Little Man at Cheehaw Station is that education and knowledge could be anywhere. You don't know who knows what.
Right.
And Invisible Man has so much in it that it's, I don't want to start talking about it, because we won't be able to get.
It's so interesting though. You say you read it at different points of your life, I'm guessing, and that's when it hit you maybe in a different.
Yeah. And talk with him about it and rap with him and got to understand him philosophically. Because then when I met him, I didn't understand about Tuskegee or somebody from 1930s. I didn't know history enough to really understand who I was talking to. I knew he was like a famous writer. But I come from, I'm just more or less typical American from where I'm from, New Orleans. A brother from like the 1970s, platform shoes, bell-bottom pants, polyester shirt, Earth, Wind and Fire, Parliament Funkadelic, funk band. My daddy played jazz. I kind of knew I liked what he was, but philosophically, I kind of had heard of Ralph Ellison. I never really read his book, didn't really know none of the real titans of any of the Afro-American arts. I didn't know any of them. And almost none of the titans of any art, because I played some classical music I knew. Didn't actually know the depth of Duke Ellington's genius. Even with my father, didn't really know Louis Armstrong, nothing before like the 1970s, the generation. I listened to Freddie Hubbard like all the trumpet players did. Knew about Miles. My daddy liked him. Train. I listened to Train a lot. Listen, but I didn't know like about the arts and all that. Then eventually I would get a chance to study with Mr. Ellison. I played at his funeral. And I never forget, me, Cyrus Chestnut, and Ali Jackson played. We played at Ralph's funeral. He requested what we played. We played Black and Tan Fantasy, and Max Roach was there. It was at the Academy of Arts and Letters, I think, that we played. And a lot of the mentors I had was like him, August Wilson. I played at August's funeral. Romare Bearden is an unbelievable artist. When I first met him, I didn't know anything about art or who he was. Really, I was ignorant of it. Albert Murray, Alvin Ailey. I was just fortunate to know all these kind of giants at a time when there weren't a lot of younger people who really were pursuing them or trying to get that kind of information.
And you weren't, as you've said before, going right to the source. So, you,
It was fun. They were all fun to be around, like, because I like to joke and play and clown, especially if a person, real serious, older person.
mm-hmm.
I'm always joking and clowning. I can't help.
But you got to keep things light and fun,
I mean, it's just everybody's personality is different. So, sometimes something will be serious. I'll be joking and they'll be like, I remember when John Lewis was really sick. He died like maybe 2 days after that. Mm-hmm. I saw him in the room. I started clowning with him. He was like, this ain't the time for that. Mm-hmm. So he said, how you handle this pressure that's on you? I looked at him. I said, you got pressure on you. You know what he said? He shook me off. So yes, sir.
Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We have time for one more question. And I saw a couple of some really great questions here. So maybe we'll try to spit two. And I saw one that said, do you think that people are born with various levels of talent or ability to play music? Or do you think it's something that people develop?
No, I think we all have different levels of ability at many different things. Mm-hmm. Music, math, athletics. We all are different. We all have different mixture and combinations. We have different talents and abilities, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't pursue a thing that we don't have a talent for. Because we can get enjoyment and realize things and do things regardless of our level of ability.
Great. So we're going to ask one more question as well. Let's see what we got here. All right. Are you planning on writing or recording in any small groups again?
Yeah, I have a piece that I wrote for a small group that we haven't recorded called Integrity Suite. And we have small group music we play now and then. So yeah, we'll record definitely some more.
Great.
So
I think
don't let Carlos
hear
that. Yeah, don't let Carlos. Let's record this small group music, Papa. Carlos will be calling me, telling me, man, you're messing up, man. Let's do this. So thank you.
Well, I think we're just about at time here. Thank you so much, Wynton, and thank you, everyone. Before I kick it back to Wynton, I will remind everyone, first of all, thank you so much for tuning in again. We're so happy that you've joined us for another Wednesdays with Wynton, and I remind you to head over to jazz.org. We have a ton of events, 7 days a week. We have different kind of various online programming. We have master classes. We have educational resources and different educational classes, live streams, archival concerts, a little bit of everything. So you can head to jazz.org to check that out. Wynton, thank you. Any last words or any?
Until we meet again. It's great to see y'all. It's great to see you, once a week. As these weeks are passing kind of fast, all right?
Truly.
Come on, Maddie. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. We'll see you all next week.
Yeah, you're
Bye.
Right. All right. Bye.